Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. In this video, I'm going to review two very interesting Asian sunscreens because they are known to be very similar in some ways, but also very different in other ways. The first sunscreen I'm going to review is the very popular online Korean sunscreen called Weightless Fluid from the brand House of Hur. The second sunscreen is from the Japanese brand Naris Up, and it is a very popular sunscreen in Japan. I have the by365 cream to powder and the no color version because they have several versions. Both of those sunscreens contains no alcohol, no fragrance, although I would have more to say about the fragrance content regarding the House of Hur sunscreen later. Both of them are known to be great to use under makeup, and both of them especially are known to give a non-greasy, non-oily finish that is actually more like a semi-matte to matte finish on the skin. So they tend to be popular among people who have oily to combination skin. The main differences between those two sunscreens is the texture, because one has a very fluid liquidy texture and the other one has a thick texture. So to me, it is interesting to see that although both sunscreens have very different textures, the promises regarding the finish on the skin is very similar. Now, I'm going to start reviewing the House of Hur sunscreen. Before I start, you should know that my skin type at the moment, since it is full summertime in Paris, is oily. Because my skin is oily, I first always gently wipe my face to remove any excess sebum before applying my sunscreen. The Weightless Sun Fluid sunscreen comes in a very simple packaging. The texture, as the brand promises, is very liquidy, as you can see, and it is easy to spread all over the skin. The texture on the skin feels like liquid gel to cream texture, and you can smell a slight scent to the formula, which is not a sunscreen scent nor a chemical scent. I wouldn't be able to describe it, but the scent doesn't bother me and it doesn't last. So the texture has a very wet feeling, and because of that you will see that at first it leaves a very glowy finish on my skin before it absorbs. And although the brand promises on their website that this product is fast absorbing, in my opinion, compared to modern new sunscreen formulas, I don't feel that this product absorbs particularly fast. So I apply it on the skin, I blend well, I have this glowy finish, but I can feel that a big part of the product has been absorbed. So that's when I apply a second layer of product and I repeat the same process. When the product has been absorbed enough and I can't do more, I have to wait for a few minutes for the product to absorb on its own. And then after a few minutes, the skin is less glowy. As usual, as I do with every sunscreen, I wipe my face gently to remove the excess glow. While I do that, you can see that in the end, I still have a glow, but it gives me a natural, subtle glow finish at the moment, since we are in summertime and the weather is quite warm outside, but also in my apartment. The finish is a natural, soft glow finish on my oily skin. Now I'm going to show you how the sunscreen looks a few hours later, and you can see that the natural soft glow finish doesn't change much throughout the day. And here you can see that the result is going to be the same when I reapply the sunscreen on my face. The very first result is a glow finish, then I will wait a few minutes and wipe the excess, and I get the natural soft finish on my skin type. I have been using this sunscreen for almost a year now, so the finish on my skin is different depending on the season. Now it is full summertime, it is very hot in Paris, so I get a finish of a natural glow, which can be a little bit oily, obviously, when the weather is very hot outside, but honestly, the finish doesn't change much. My skin never becomes greasy, it doesn't feel like I have sunscreen on my skin, unlike most sunscreen out there. When I was wearing this sunscreen during cooler months and my skin was not fully oily, it was mainly oily, but normal in this area. Then in winter time, for instance, I would feel that this sunscreen was too drying in this area, so I had to use a moisturizer first on this area of my skin only, and then apply the sunscreen on the rest of my face. So in my opinion, this sunscreen is perfect if you have oily skin, but if you have normal skin, in the winter it's probably going to be too drying for you, at least on its own, and I would not advise this sunscreen for anyone who has dry skin. Regarding the texture and the application of this sunscreen, sometimes, very rarely, but sometimes, this sunscreen peels on me, and over times throughout the day, it has happened twice, the sunscreen would crumbles on me, which is very weird because it kind of feel like throughout the day it's gonna dry, and then if you touch your skin, you're gonna feel sunscreen on your fingers, on your skin. For me, I feel that it happens the few times where I didn't take the time to blend the sunscreen properly on my skin. As you saw, it takes some time to dry down, but if you're not careful, you're gonna apply the sunscreen not blend enough, and when it's time to touch your skin, that's when the sunscreen may peel, or that's when the sunscreen may crumble. So you need to blend enough so it does not peel or crumble later. But at the same time, you should not blend too much during the application, otherwise, at least on my skin, it can peel. Once I understood that, it was not difficult for me to manage, but I see other people online complained about this aspect. But it seems that when it comes to peeling, it's a different experience depending on different people. So if you have tried this sunscreen, let me know in the comment section if you had experienced this peeling aspect. But while applying the sunscreen the way I told you, I don't have any issues, and I only had issues twice, although I'm using my third bottle of this sunscreen. So the second sunscreen is the Japanese sunscreen from the brand Naris Up, the by365 Powdery UV Cream. And this one also comes in a simple packaging, and as I said earlier, the texture is thicker. It reminds me of shaving foam or whipped cream, or if you have ever used any foamy Japanese cleanser, that's what it reminds me of. So the texture is quite thick, as you can see. Because of the texture, obviously it's not going to be as easy to spread on your face compared to a regular cream, But I must say that after the initial struggle, which is not really a struggle, but after the initial feeling, the texture becomes thinner and it becomes easy to blend. If you have seen my review on the SVR optical blur sunscreen, I'm sure you would have noticed that those products are very similar. Although I would say that this one is a little bit easier to blend compared to the SVR sunscreen. What I like about this type of texture is the fact that you can quickly apply a good amount of product on your skin. And in my opinion, the initial feeling of disappearance of a cream and absorption of a cream is quicker than the House of Hur sunscreen. So here, similar to the House of Hur sunscreen, I do one application all over my face and then I do a second one. So when I blend the texture changes from this foamy texture to a kind of very light paste texture, which is super thin on the skin. And at the beginning, although the sunscreen has disappeared, you can still feel the texture on the face, so it's not fully absorbed. Although on the screen it may look like it's fully absorbed only because the sunscreen has fully disappeared. On the skin, under the fingers, you can still feel that it is sitting on top of your skin. So here again, you just have to wait a few minutes and then I wipe my face to remove excess glow. And when I do that, I can feel that the texture of the cream has changed to a velvety texture, which is the sign that the sunscreen has fully absorbed. The end finish is also on my skin right now in full summer, a kind of natural finish with a little bit of a glow. And this finish after several hours doesn't change that much. Obviously, if you sweat, then the sunscreen is not going to prevent you from sweating. And if it is super hot, you are probably going to look more glowy. But I never feel that I look greasy or oily with this sunscreen either. So again, after several hours on a very hot day, I'm still happy with the results. And I'm showing you now that you can easily reapply another layer of sunscreen, and the feeling, the process, the result is going to be the same as the first time you did your application. Contrary to the House of Hur sunscreen, with this one I don't have any issue with the texture, never had any peeling issue, never had anything special or wrong going on with the texture, and I haven't seen anything online either from other people regarding this aspect. It is a sunscreen that is easy to use, easy to reapply, easy to use a big amount at once. And if you are in a hurry and let's say you apply a good amount of sunscreen on your face, but you don't have time to do the touch-up, you don't have time to let it dry, you don't think too much about it, then you won't have any issue with the texture later. It is a super easy, friendly type of texture to use. Earlier, I mentioned that I needed to clarify something regarding the fragrance or absence of fragrance in the House of Hur sunscreen. Online, people say that it is fragrance-free, although when you look at the website, the brand itself never says that this sunscreen is fragrance-free. But when you look at the ingredient list, no fragrance is listed and no essential oils is listed either. But there are 2 plant extracts in the formula. There is honey extract and a type of citrus extract. Because of those ingredients, although I've known about this sunscreen for a while, it took me a long time before I took the plunge to buy it because I avoid any type of fragrance in my products. The reason I decided to buy it regardless is because those ingredients are listed as extract, which is not the same thing as the plain ingredient itself. For instance, if we take honey, In a previous video, I explained how in South Korea they defined extract when I reviewed the Skin 1004 ampoule, who used to claim that their product was 100% Centellia asiatica. Then they changed to extract, and then now they have completely updated their formula to a formula that makes more sense, but that's another story. But on that video, I was explaining that an extract is a solution in which you find the actual ingredient. So for the case of honey extract, if I simplify to a very simple liquid solution with only water and honey, then water in the extract could count for 99.99% and honey only 0.1% for the extract only. Then the concentration of the extract can be tiny in the formula. So for those reasons, I don't care about it. This product does not smell like citrus. So in my opinion, those ingredients are only added for greenwashing, to make the products look more clean or green or natural, but to me they don't seem to bring anything else to the formula. Although on the website the brands say that those extract helps with moisture, but clearly they don't. To me, they are just there for marketing purposes. So if you have a very sensitive skin, it is very unlikely that those plant extracts have any negative effect on your skin. On the screen, I'm going to show you a sum up of what I think about each sunscreens. I'm going to show you the facts and the promises that the brand give us. So you can pause, look at all of them. If you have any questions about what is written, do not hesitate to leave me a question in the comment section. I will do that for the House of Hur sunscreen and the Naris Up by 365 sunscreen. You can see on the screen that the price is very similar for both products, although the Japanese sunscreen is a little bit cheaper. Now, if I compare those two products, one difference that is not obvious is in terms of the ingredients used in the formula as UV filters. House of Hur only uses modern filters, while Naris Up uses a mix of new and old filters. And I usually prefer new filters because my skin can easily break out or my eyes can sting with older filters, but I thankfully did not have any issue with this sunscreen. The main difference for me, as I said, is the texture. It depends on if you prefer a lightweight texture or this thick but funny texture. In my opinion, I actually like this type of texture, especially in the summertime. It depends if you absolutely want a stable texture like the Japanese sunscreen, or if you don't mind having a sunscreen with a texture that can be unstable. Regarding the finish on my skin, as I said, it is very similar, but I feel that the House of Hur sunscreen can be drying during cooler season on my skin. The Japanese sunscreen is more recent to me. I haven't been able to use it during the cooler months yet, but the texture is very similar to the SVR sunscreen, as I mentioned earlier, and that sunscreen doesn't make my skin dry during the cooler months, so I have trust that this Japanese version would not do that either. Both sunscreens look good under makeup. I used them today under my makeup, but in the summertime, if you have oily skin and if it is hot, those sunscreens are not going to be enough to get a matte enough look with your makeup. So you will have to use a mattifying primer on top of your sunscreen and underneath your makeup. And because the Japanese sunscreen has a thick texture, it doesn't make me want to add a primer on top of that texture. So during the summertime, if I had to pick one to use under makeup, I would pick the House of Hur sunscreen because of its very light texture. But if I have to spend time outside without makeup, I would prefer the by365 sunscreen because of the very stable formula and because it is very easy to apply and reapply a good amount of product. I hope this video would have helped you to understand better those two sunscreens. Thank you so much for watching until the end, and I will see you on the next video. Bye bye!